Germany are out. The four-time world champions eliminated by Paraguay on penalties in Boston in one of the most stunning upsets of this World Cup. Welcome to FairPlay, Football AI Review. This was a round of 32 clash that carried enormous weight for both sides. Germany had topped Group E with 6 points, but arrived at Gillette Stadium knowing that knockout football is an entirely different beast. Paraguay, having navigated a brutal South American qualifying campaign and scraped through their own group stage, were the underdogs in every sense. Yet they came here with a defensive blueprint and the belief to execute it. The pre-match narrative centered on Germany's explosive attacking potential. Julian Nagelsmann had available a fully fit squad with no enforced absences, while Paraguay were reportedly managing 2 injury concerns heading into the contest. The psychological weight on Germany was immense, as the tournament's expected standard-bearers from Europe, anything less than a convincing win would be treated as failure. Nagelsmann deployed his side in a 4-4-2 on the day, with Kai Havertz and Deniz Undav leading the line and Florian Wirtz pulling strings from the left of midfield. The intention was clear: use Germany's superior technical quality to dominate possession, stretch Paraguay's defensive block, and create overloads in wide areas to deliver into the box. Gustavo Alfaro's Paraguay also lined up in a 4-4-2, mirroring Germany's shape in a deliberate tactical decision. This was not coincidence. It was designed to nullify the width Germany would look to exploit, matching the midfield 2 versus 2 and compressing the central channels with disciplined vertical defending. The mirrored 4-4-2 created a fascinating tactical battle, but Paraguay's interpretation of the system was fundamentally defensive. Their block sat deep and narrow, ceding possession entirely while prioritizing compactness. The key mismatch came in the wide areas where Germany's fullbacks, particularly Nathaniel Brown on the right, pushed high without their corresponding midfielders tucking in quickly enough on the transition, leaving corridors open for Paraguay's counter. Germany controlled the opening exchanges, as expected, circulating the ball with patient efficiency. Possession hovered around 80% in those early minutes as Wirtz and Pavlovic tried to find the gaps between Paraguay's defensive and midfield lines. But Alfaro's side were disciplined, tracking runners and refusing to be pulled out of shape by the movement of Havertz and Undav. Then, right on the stroke of half-time, Paraguay struck with clinical efficiency. In the 42nd minute, Matias Galarza drove down the outside of Nathaniel Brown on the right flank and delivered a pinpoint cross into the 6-yard box. Julio Enciso had drifted completely unmarked into the area, and he nodded the ball firmly into the ground and past a static Manuel Neuer. It was a goal born of Germany's defensive negligence and Paraguay's precision, and it sent the underdogs into the break with a stunning lead. Germany's best first-half opportunity came from Wirtz, whose driving run and delivery constantly threatened but never found the decisive final touch. Undav showed flashes of the form that had earned him 3 goals in the tournament, but was consistently well-marshaled by the imposing Gustavo Gomez. The XG figures at halftime already told a familiar story. Germany creating the chances but failing to convert them into genuine moments of finishing. At the interval, Nagelsmann needed a response. His team had dominated the ball but been punished by one moment of defensive sloppiness. The tone had to change. Germany needed directness and intensity rather than patient circulation, and they needed it immediately from the restart. Germany emerged from the dressing room transformed. Leon Goretzka had come on at halftime for Felix Nemecha, injecting aggression and box-to-box energy into the midfield. The pressure built quickly, and in the 54th minute, Florian Wirtz delivered a superb cross from the left and Havertz rose powerfully to head the ball past Orlando Gil. 1-1, and Germany back in the game, though it had taken a set-piece variation rather than the flowing combination play Nagelsmann had been searching for all evening. Nagelsmann made his second major change in the 63rd minute, withdrawing Deniz Undav and introducing Jamal Musiala. The intent was to add creativity and dribbling threat behind the striker, to find another dimension that Paraguay's block had successfully erased. Musiala's energy was immediate, but the Paraguayan defensive unit, now operating with even greater focus, continued to absorb and neutralize. The introduction of Gustavo Caballero for Gabriel Avalos in the 55th minute, and then Mauricio for the goal scorer Julio Enciso just 2 minutes later, signaled Alfaro's shift to protect his lead and add physical presence in midfield. Replacing Enciso, who had done his job brilliantly, with Mauricio was a statement of intent. Paraguay would defend deep and make Germany break them down. Germany pushed relentlessly for a second goal, but the Paraguayan structure held firm. Andres Cubas earned a yellow card in the 65th minute for a cynical foul that reflected the growing desperation on both sides. Waldemar Anton came on for Pavlovic in the 79th minute to shore up the defensive structure and give Nagelsmann more physical presence. Then Nick Woltemade was introduced for Sané in the 88th minute, a fresh pair of legs to attack the channels in the final moments of regulation. Into extra time, and the temperature, both physical and psychological, rose sharply. In the 102nd minute, Jonathan Tah powered a header from Nathaniel Brown's corner kick into the net, and Germany celebrated wildly. But VAR intervened. After a review, the goal was disallowed, the officials ruling that Waldemar Anton had fouled goalkeeper Orlando Gil before the ball crossed the line. ESPN's VAR analysts argued the goal should have stood. It was the decisive moment that shaped everything that followed, and Germany never recovered the momentum. Both managers were booked in the 105th minute for heated arguments on the touchline, Nagelsmann and Alfaro both losing their composure as the tension became unbearable. Havertz picked up a yellow card in the 106th minute for a serious foul, Musiala followed in the 115th, and Galarza was booked in the 117th as the match descended into a war of attrition. At the 110th minute, Nagelsmann made his final changes. Nadim Amiri for Wirtz and Malik Thiaw for Rudiger, both arriving to see out extra time. Paraguay's last roll of the dice came in the 120th minute when Fabian Balbuena replaced the exhausted Junior Alonso at the death. Then came the penalties. Kai Havertz stepped up first for Germany and saw his effort saved by Orlando Gil, a devastating opening miss that handed Paraguay the immediate advantage. Mauricio converted calmly to make it 1-0 to Paraguay. Kimmich equalized for Germany, then Gustavo Gomez made it 2-1 to Paraguay. Musiala leveled at 2-2, and Galarza restored Paraguay's lead at 3-2. Then Nick Woltemade, introduced as a substitute barely 2 minutes from the end of extra time, had his penalty saved, and Paraguay needed just one more. Antonio Sanabria blazed his kick over the bar, keeping Germany alive. Nadim Amiri scored coolly to make it 3-3. Then Fabian Balbuena, who had been on the pitch for just seconds, saw his penalty saved by Neuer. It was 3-3 and sudden death. Jonathan Tah stepped up, the man whose goal had been cruelly taken away by VAR, and missed. José Canale walked up and drove the ball home. Paraguay had won. The stadium fell into a surreal silence. Germany's possession statistics were extraordinary. 76% of the ball, 805 passes completed at 90% accuracy, against Paraguay's 255 at 63%. But possession without penetration is simply an expensive way to lose. Germany controlled the geography of the match without controlling its destiny. With an XG of 2.77, Germany created genuinely dangerous situations. 21 shots in total, 6 on target, 11 inside the box. Paraguay's XG of just 0.41 tells you everything about Alfaro's approach. 7 shots, 3 on target, 33 tackles, and 8 shots blocked. They were not there to win in 90 minutes. They were there to survive and then execute. Defensively, Paraguay produced one of the tournament's great collective performances. Gustavo Gomez was imperious at the back, José Canale was magnificent on the right of the defense and then became the hero in the shootout, and Orlando Gil made 6 saves across the match plus 2 more in the penalty shootout. Germany's backline, by contrast, was exposed by one moment of individual naivety from Nathaniel Brown in the build-up to Enciso's goal, and the disallowed Tah header will haunt the coaching staff for years. Germany's standout performer in the 90 minutes was undoubtedly Florian Wirtz, who provided the assist for Havertz's equalizer and was consistently the most dangerous creative presence on the pitch. His driving runs from deep and his ability to play through pressure caused constant problems for Paraguay's block, and his departure at the 110th minute noticeably reduced Germany's creative threat in the closing stages. On the Paraguay side, Orlando Gil was simply exceptional. 6 saves during regular time and extra time, 2 more in the shootout. The goalkeeper from the second tier of the South American game produced a display of composure and shot-stopping that belied his status as an underdog. He was the foundation upon which Paraguay's entire night was built. The player who underperformed most visibly was Kai Havertz. He scored the equalizer, yes, but his overall influence was muted. He gave the ball away repeatedly in tight areas, earned a yellow card for a foul in extra time, and then missed the very first penalty of the shootout, setting the tone for Germany's eventual downfall. For a player of his ability and experience, it was a deeply disappointing night. Nagelsmann's tactical decisions will face intense scrutiny. The decision to remove Wirtz at the 110th minute, when Paraguay were still vulnerable to pace and creativity, may prove to have been the wrong call. The manager's touchline booking suggested he was losing control of his own emotions at the critical moment, which filtered through to his players in the latter stages of extra time. Germany and Paraguay have met only a handful of times in competitive football, and this result cuts against Germany's historical dominance in World Cup knockout football. For a nation that had never lost a World Cup penalty shootout before this evening, there is a new and unwelcome entry into the record books. Paraguay, meanwhile, continue their tradition of producing heroic defensive performances against far superior opposition. Germany's recent form had shown genuine promise, wins over Slovakia, Luxembourg, Northern Ireland, Côte d'Ivoire, and Curaçao building into a strong group stage campaign. But their only 2 losses in the last 10 matches had come against Ecuador and now Paraguay, both times when pressed defensively and exposed on transitions, suggesting a structural vulnerability that Nagelsmann had not fully resolved. Paraguay's recent run tells a different story. Wins over Turkey, Peru, and Uruguay, draws against Australia and Ecuador, and only a defeat to the United States and Brazil to their name. The form of a team growing in confidence and cohesion, and tonight was the culmination of that journey. With Germany eliminated, their extraordinary 6-point group stage performance means absolutely nothing now. Paraguay advanced to face the winner of match 77 on the 4th of July, and after tonight's display, no team in this bracket should welcome that prospect. They defended as a unit, executed their game plan with precision, and converted their moment when it mattered most. Paraguay face a genuinely difficult assignment in the next round against whoever emerges from match 77, but after defeating Germany, a team with an XG nearly 7 times higher, nothing should be underestimated about Alfaro's side. Germany, meanwhile, have a summer of painful reflection ahead. A squad loaded with talent, a dominant possession game, and a historic penalty shootout record, all gone in the space of one ruthless evening in Boston. This match was the story of football's oldest paradox: dominance without reward and resilience without possession. Germany created the chances, controlled the territory, and still found a way to lose. Paraguay came here to survive and to fight, and in Jose Canal's coolly taken winning penalty, they found their immortal moment. The 4-time world champions leave this tournament knowing they were the better team on every statistical measure, and yet were sent home by a side that outthought them where it truly matters. It is a result that will reshape the German football conversation for years. FairPlay, Football AI Review will be back with coverage of the next round of 32 clash. As the World Cup enters its most dramatic phase, this tournament has already told us that nothing, absolutely nothing, is certain. Stay with us. That's the FairPlay verdict on this one. If you want more analysis like this, follow us, find us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at FairPlay AI, and follow Anthony personally on X at Anthony Fairplay. See you next match.